was about 12 or 13 years old when the series was broadcast on SABC in South Africa. The 1980s had many great television shows like Knight Rider, Airwolf, The A-Team, but V was still something completely different. The scenes of giant ships hovering in the sky, the visitors stepping out with friendly smiles, then gradually revealing their true nature. All of it left me frozen in place. At that time, I did not fully grasp the deep political layers. I only knew my heart was pounding with excitement, mixed with vague fear. But as I grew older and dug deeper into the behind the scenes, the more I discovered strange details that I had completely not known as a child. Did you know that one actress was murdered right in the middle of filming? Or that the visitors' costumes were so hot that actors fainted? And what was the mysterious marketing campaign that truly made all of America uneasy? In today's video, we will together lift the curtain behind V to explore 20 facts that few people know about in V. 20 Dominique Dunne was murdered right on the film set. Where does the highlight of V lie? For me, it is certain that the attraction from the character Robin Maxwell accounts for half of it. The scene of her, an ordinary American teenage girl, gradually being drawn into the vortex of the visitors from innocent trust to realizing the horrifying truth, always makes me tense every time I rewatch it. But few people know that behind Robin Maxwell was a horrifying tragedy. Dominique Dunne. The first actress cast in that role was murdered right before filming was finished. Dominique Dunne, at that time only 22 years old, was rehearsing lines with David Packer at her private home in West Hollywood when her ex-boyfriend John Sweeney appeared. The argument escalated into violence. He strangled her for more than 4 minutes, dragging her across the yard. Dominique fell into a deep coma, and 5 days later, on November the 4th, 1982, her family removed the life support. The film crew stopped production for 2 weeks. The role of Robin was recast to Blair Tefkin. All scenes had to be reshot from the beginning. Only a few back-facing shots of Dominique were kept, and the mini-series dedicated a tribute to her in the credits. That loss was not only a role, it was a real void in the memory of those who once loved V at that time. 19. Behind-the-scenes accidents caused by the visitors' costumes. Back then, when watching the film, I always paid attention to the visitors' costumes. The glossy lizard skin, the large blinking black eyes, the polite smiles hiding everything. On screen, they looked truly impressive, almost perfect in the role of friends from the stars. But behind that appearance was a harsh reality that few viewers knew. Those suits were heavy, airless, and unbearably hot. Under the studio lights of California in the 1980s, the temperature inside the costume sometimes exceeded 50 degrees Celsius. Actors had to wear the entire thick suit for many hours, with no ventilation, sweat pouring out as if bathing. Some people fainted right in the middle of filming, had to receive emergency treatment for severe dehydration, with burning red skin and exhausted bodies. There were no mobile air conditioners or long breaks. The broadcast schedule had been fixed for May 1983, and the crew was forced to continue. They only had time to remove the helmet between takes, wipe sweat with wet towels, quickly drink a sip of water, then put it back on and continue acting. Some people later recalled that the smell of sweat and burnt rubber spread throughout the set, but no one dared to complain for fear of delaying the schedule. It was precisely that endurance that created the vitality of the visitors on screen. 18. Diana was constructed as a metaphor for fascism disguised as a saviour. Do you remember the character Diana? The female leader of the visitors with a perfect smile. A sweet voice that is chilling. She always appears in an immaculate white outfit, promising peace and a bright future for humanity. That very contradiction made Diana one of the most memorable villains of the 1980s. But Kenneth Johnson did not build Diana as just an ordinary villain. He deliberately turned her into a clear metaphor for fascism disguised as humanitarianism. Diana smiles, politely speaks beautiful words about cooperation, about saving Earth from crisis, even organises emotional television broadcasts. Yet behind all of that is cold manipulation, calculated violence, and ruthless brutality. She is willing to kill torture experiment on humans while still maintaining a calm exterior, as if every crime serves a noble purpose. Looking back, the construction of this character was truly bold in the context of American television at that time. Without stating it directly, Diana still made viewers feel the danger of invaders wearing the mask of saviors. 17. Lizard aliens helped the series pass censorship. The moment of seeing the alien creature shaped like a lizard, I almost laughed, but gradually felt a chill from the glossy scales and the horrifying split-red tongue. That design, thinking back now, was not accidental. It was precisely the shield that helped V pass the strict censorship barrier of NBC at that time. Kenneth Johnson's original idea had no aliens at all. It was a purely political film, telling the story of a fascist regime rising right in the heart of the United States, exactly like what happened in Europe in the 1930s to 40s. NBC read the script and immediately shook their heads and refused. Johnson was forced to change. He covered that fascist regime with a science fiction shell giant ship smiling, visitors from the stars promising cures and peace. In reality, they only came to seize water food and turn humanity into slaves or food. That lizard alien shell transformed a dangerous political story into just science fiction, allowing V to get the green light. 16. The rat-eating scene did not use CGI, it was a practical effect. The most haunting scene in V, even now I still cannot forget, is the moment when the visitors peel off their human skin, revealing shimmering lizard faces, and eat live rats right in front of the camera. No blood spraying, no grotesque Hollywood-style effects, just a real rat being picked up and then swallowed it in one clean bite. That was not CGI, nor was it a fake prop. The actors actually ate live rats in front of the camera. Kenneth Johnson and the team decided to do it that way because they wanted the audience to feel the brutal truth in the most direct way. Those friends from the stars were not human at all. They were not only different in appearance but also in nature. Cold, brutal, and completely alien. That frightening realism turned V into an experience that was not just entertainment. 15. The character had to be completely reshot. It was Dominique's death that led the film crew to face one of the most difficult decisions, completely recasting the role of Robin Maxwell. Blair Tefkin was chosen as the replacement, and every scene featuring Robin, from intimate conversations with her mother to moments of resistance, had to be redone from the beginning. The schedule was already tight now, compounded by urgent time pressure to make the mini-series air in May 1983. The entire crew had to work overtime reshooting old scenes under the hot studio lights, trying to preserve the original emotion and rhythm. Even so, not everything was erased. A few short shots, mainly filmed from behind or from a distant angle where Dominique's face was not clearly visible, were still kept in the final version. Those were quiet moments, like a reminder of her brief but striking presence. The series officially dedicated itself to Dominique Dunne in the opening credits with a simple but meaningful line of tribute. That decision was not just a formality, but a way for the entire team to express their mourning amid the relentless production schedule. 14. A crazy record, a 230-page script in 19 days. Few people know that the script of the V miniseries, more than 230 pages long, was written by Kenneth Johnson in just 19 consecutive days. Not an outline or a rough draft, but completed from beginning to end with every line of dialogue, scene description, and the characteristic tense pacing. In 1982, when NBC gave the project the green light, the production timeline was squeezed to the point of near impossibility. Johnson sat in a small room, strong black coffee, blank paper, and a typewriter, working day and night without rest. He recalled that there were nights when he slept only a few hours on the sofa, ideas pouring out like a flood because of the pressure of the May 1983 sweeps broadcast. There was no time for lengthy revisions. Everything had to be decisive and sharp from the first draft. That very insane urgency created V's unique appeal, a relentless pace that gives the audience no time to breathe each episode like a series of consecutive punches, the reveal of the visitors, the uprising, the moments of betrayal. Everything is pushed quickly to a climax, pulling viewers along without time to think. If the script had been written more slowly, the series might have lost that very tense, suspenseful soul. 13. Many violent scenes were cut because they were too similar to World War II. When rewatching Faye, I still feel the weight of the scenes of repression control and purges, but few people know that many even more powerful scenes were cut by NBC. Originally, the script included segments depicting concentration camps with barbed wire fences, intellectuals being arrested en masse, and media being tightly controlled to the point of mirroring exactly what happened in Europe in the 1930s to 40s. Those images not only evoked World War II, but also made American audiences easily associate them directly with fascism. NBC feared it would cause major controversy, even criticism, for being too political during primetime television. They asked Kenneth Johnson to revise or completely cut certain segments to soften them, to avoid making viewers feel they were being hit with real-world fears. Even so, what remained was still sharp enough. The visitors' symbols, propaganda slogans, and gradual manipulation all still retained their deep layers of meaning. Those cuts, though regrettable, helped the series reach a wider audience without losing its core message. 12. Kenneth Johnson wrote his own sequel to V. Kenneth Johnson, the creator and director of the original V miniseries, Never Let Go of the Story. In 2008, he personally wrote an official sequel titled V: The Second Generation, as an effort to restore his original vision after the long-running series was cancelled halfway and went off track. The novel is set 20 years after the invasion. The visitors still control Earth, but a new generation has emerged and deceived the hybrid children between aliens and humans. They carry reptilian genes mixed with human DNA, leading to deep internal identity conflicts. Loyalty to their visitor parents or fighting for the right to free human existence. Johnson builds the story with richer layers of meaning, not only a space war, but also issues of race identity and coexistence between two species in a divided society. Old characters like Mike Donovan and Julie Parrish still appear, but now they are more aged and weary, leading a new generation of resistance. The book was published by Tor Books and received positive responses from fans for remaining faithful to the political spirit and fascist allegory of the original. Even so, plans to adapt it into a film or series never materialised. NBC was not enthusiastic, and other studios were wary of the risk. V. The second generation therefore remains confined to the page like an unfinished promise Johnson made to audiences who once loved V. 11. NBC rejected it because it was too real. Back then, when Kenneth Johnson brought the Storm Warnings manuscript to NBC, the first reaction was uncomfortable. Silence followed by a decisive shake of the head. They believed American audiences did not want to watch a story about their country being invaded from within, about the collapse of democracy under domestic fascism. The script was judged to be heavy, hard to access, and even at risk of causing major political controversy in a context where America in the 1980s was still haunted by the Cold War. NBC feared ratings would drop, and sponsors would withdraw if the film was too real and made viewers uneasy. They demanded that Johnson turn it into something more palatable, an entertainment story, not a direct warning. Johnson, though disappointed, accepted, adding alien spaceships and promises of peace from the stars. That rejection unintentionally created the strength of V. The message remained intact, only wrapped in a sci-fi shell to pass censorship and reach millions of viewers. A commercial decision, but one that gave birth to a masterpiece. 10. There are metaphorical elements of Nazi Germany. Every time I rewatch V, I am still startled by the details evoking Nazi Germany that are woven in subtly yet unmistakably. The symbol of the visitors, the stylized V, looks very much like a reversed swastika, an intentional visual wordplay. The group of teenagers, friends of the visitors, wear uniforms, chant slogans, march with fanatic eyes. Just like the Hitler Youth, visitors' television broadcast propaganda news constantly praising leaders and smearing opponents exactly like Nazi German radio once did. Even scenes of population control, mass arrests and experiments on humans evoke painful historical images. Kenneth Johnson did not place those details by chance. He wanted viewers to feel the danger of extremism when it wears a friendly mask. Although NBC cut some scenes that were too direct, what remained was still enough for perceptive viewers to recognize the visitors are not just aliens, they are symbols of any totalitarian regime that has existed and could exist. A deep layer of meaning that makes V go far beyond ordinary entertainment. 9. The series reused old footage extensively. Every time I re-watch the long-running V series, I often notice some scenes that feel strangely familiar. That is not a coincidence. The production reused a large amount of footage from the original 1983 miniseries. Scenes of ships flying across the sky, laser chases, even some large explosions or panicked crowds were taken almost intact from the earlier part. The reason was simple. The budget was sharply reduced after the initial success, and NBC approved only about half the budget compared to the miniseries. Kenneth Johnson and the team had no other choice but to recycle to save on new shooting costs. Attentive viewers can notice it immediately. Lighting, camera angles, even image quality differ noticeably in places between the two parts. Even so, the integration was done fairly skillfully, not disrupting the flow of the story. Looking back, this reflects the harsh reality of 1980s. Television great success did not mean abundant budgets forever. Those reused scenes, though repeated, still retained their original impact, like a reminder that V was once a phenomenon, and the crew did everything they could to keep it alive under tight conditions. 8. Kenneth Johnson was removed from the director's chair. Kenneth Johnson, the creator of V, once hoped to lead the entire long-running series after the resounding success of the miniseries. But after V, the final battle, everything changed. NBC and the producers decided to strip creative control from him, handing it to another team to refresh the show in a more commercial direction. Johnson felt deeply betrayed. He had committed from the beginning to preserving the political spirit and deep message. But now, the project was pushed toward lighter action and adventure with fewer layers of meaning. He publicly expressed his disappointment, saying the original commitment had been violated. In the end, Johnson chose to withdraw completely from the series, not participating in any later installments. That decision disappointed many fans, because it was his vision that created V's unique appeal, not just alien invasion, but a warning about power and manipulation. His departure marked a turning point for the series, from a story with depth to a more conventional entertainment product. Even so, the legacy of the original miniseries remains firm as proof of the talent and integrity of a true filmmaker. 7. Suddenly cancelled at episode 19. The long-running V series ended abruptly at episode 19, leaving many questions hanging. There was no final battle, no resolution to the invasion, no clear fate for the main characters. Viewers were left with a permanently unfinished ending. The visitors still controlled parts of Earth. The resistance continued, but no one knew what would happen next. NBC decided to cancel the series because ratings gradually declined. Production costs were high, and advertising revenue was not enough to compensate. There was no prior warning, no special finale episode, just a normal episode and then silence. Millions of viewers at the time felt disappointed, even angry at being abandoned halfway through. Kenneth Johnson later said that his greatest regret was not being able to complete his original vision. That open ending, though unintentional, created a strange appeal. This became one of the most famous eternal cliffhanger series in television history. Many years later, fans still debate write fan fiction and wait for a day when the story might continue, even knowing it probably never will. 6. The ambush marketing campaign on Americans. Imagine stepping into the New York subway in early 1983 and suddenly seeing bright red posters everywhere. The visitors are your friends. No show title, no logo. Just a mysterious message accompanied by the image of a massive ship. NBC carried out this campaign as a psychological ambush, revealing nothing about it being an advertisement for the V miniseries, only wanting to spark real curiosity and unease. A few days later, those posters were spray painted with large red V letters, exactly like the resistance symbol in the show. The public began to buzz. Is this real? Who is doing this? Is there some kind of plot? Newspapers reported widely, people talked everywhere, from cafes to family dinner tables. That campaign did not rely on expensive traditional advertising, but its effect exceeded expectations, creating the feeling that the visitors were truly coming, seeping into daily life. When the mini-series aired, audiences were already hooked before the first episode. It was one of the smartest marketing campaigns of the 1980s, turning curiosity into mild fear, then turning fear into massive ratings. 5. Resounding success, then self-destruction. The 1983 V miniseries aired on NBC like a delayed bomb sky high. Ratings, millions of Americans staying up late to follow each episode, discussing the visitors and the metaphorical message everywhere. This was followed by V: The Final Battle in 1984, which still retained strong appeal, even though it had somewhat thinned out. But when it moved into the long-running series of 1984 to 1985, everything began to collapse. NBC cut the budget in half compared to the original miniseries, forcing the crew to repeatedly reuse old scenes, cut back on special effects, and gradually remove main characters without reasonable explanation. The storyline became disjointed, the pacing slowed, and the signature tension was lost. Ratings plunged sharply. Audiences gradually gave up because of the feeling of being tricked after the unresolved ending. From a cultural phenomenon, V was quickly forgotten in the public eye. Many people regret that if the original budget and vision had been preserved, the series could have lasted and become an icon like Star Trek. Instead, the initial success itself killed it, a harsh lesson in how commercial television sometimes destroys its very best creations. 4. The alien voices were normalized for no reason. One of the details that confused V fans the most when moving from the mini-series to the long-running series was the voices of the visitors. In the 1983 mini-series, their voices were electronically processed, echoing distorted cold, creating a sense of alienation and fear true to an alien nature. Every line spoken by Diana or John felt as if it echoed from another world, giving audiences goosebumps from the very first greeting. But in the 1984 series, they suddenly spoke normally, like people on Earth, natural voices, no effects, no explanation whatsoever in the storyline. There was no scene mentioning that they had learned to speak like humans or that their technology had changed. It was simply a technical sound change. The real reason lay in a tight budget and production decisions. Electronic voice effects were more expensive, and harder to maintain for dubbing across many long episodes, so they were dropped. The result was that the visitors lost much of their original sense of menace, becoming more familiar, but also less convincing. Many viewers at the time felt disappointed, as if the alien shell had been stripped away in a half-hearted way. That small detail alone was enough to show that the series had gradually lost its own soul. 3. V is still not dead. It may sound strange, but V has truly never completely died. In 2025, the audio drama series V UK Visitation was released, carrying a spirit absolutely faithful to the original 1983 miniseries. Not a feature film left on the shelf for years, but an audio storytelling format. Voices, effects, music, recreating the visitor's invasion in a detailed and profound way. Kenneth Johnson, though not directly involved, supported the project because it preserved the original political spirit, fascist allegory, and tense rhythm. Familiar characters such as Diana Mike Donovan and Julie Parrish were voiced by a new cast, but the script respected the original down to the smallest details. Longtime fans can hear classic scenes again: the reveal of the visitors, the rat-eating scene, the uprising, all through vivid sound without the need for images. This project serves as a reminder that the story of V still has vitality, even though television abandoned it long ago. In the era of booming podcasts, V UK Visitation brings back 1980s memories, giving those who once stayed up late watching primetime TV a chance to return without waiting endlessly for a remake film that may never happen. 2. The meaning behind the title. Every time I see the red V painted over the visitors' propaganda posters, I smile at that subtlety. The title V was not accidental. It was directly inspired by resistance symbols from World War II. In the 1940s, occupied Europeans secretly painted the letter VIVE, short for Victory, on walls, windows, even on fascist posters, to express an unyielding spirit. Kenneth Johnson borrowed that very historical detail and turned it into the core symbol of the series' resistance members, painting a red V over the visitors' images, turning propaganda into defiance. More than just a letter V represents the hope-silent resistance against invaders wearing friendly disguises. That small detail, repeated throughout the miniseries, creates powerful emotional impact. It connects fictional storytelling with historical reality, helping audiences feel more clearly that the struggle against dictatorship is never outdated. Even though later series installments became diluted, the V symbol still stands firm as a reminder. Victory does not always come through force. Sometimes it only takes a red mark on a black background. 1. A massive budget for 1980s television. In 1983, when the V miniseries aired, the total budget was estimated at $13 million, an enormous figure for primetime television at that time. Each laser blast in the series cost around $11,000 just for practical effects. Light smoke explosions, all done manually with no CGI like today. The crew filmed under tight deadlines, working 7 days a week from early morning until late at night to meet the sweep's broadcast schedule. California sound stages were hot, equipment was heavy, actors endured suffocating alien costumes. Everything demanded great physical effort and large sums of money. NBC invested heavily because they believed V would be a phenomenon, and they were right. Record-breaking ratings, advertising slots sold out. That generosity itself created a special appeal. Massive spaceships, practical effects, grand-scale scenes, all made audiences feel the true scale of an invasion. Looking back now, that $13 million was not just money, it was proof of an era when television dared to take risks, dared to spend big to tell a story with depth, rather than only chasing safe formulas. V became a legend, not only because of its idea, but also because of an investment worthy of its vision. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, Don't forget to like, share and subscribe so you won't miss our next videos. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next video.